Today we're going to be comparing the all-new Zhiyun Crane 2S with the heavyweight gimbal champion, the DJI Ronin S. So let's check it out. I know that there's a lot of people out there with the DJI Ronin S that have seen the release of the Zhiyun Crane 2S and they're wondering whether or not this is something that they should be upgrading to. I also know that there's a lot of people out there that don't have the Ronin S, but they've heard of its very highly regarded reputation, but they've also seen the release of the Crane 2S and they're wondering which one of these gimbals they should go for. Well, in this video I'm going to do my best to share with you guys what I've found to be the pros and cons of both of these gimbals and hopefully give you guys enough information to help you to determine which one of these gimbals is right for you. If at any time you have any kind of questions or comments, or if there's something that I didn't cover that you would like to know about, let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to be able to help you guys. So to start off, I want to go over the build quality of these gimbals. So DJI's products are always very premium. They are very robust and are built to last. And I would say that the DJI Ronin S is no exception to that. It is built very well and there's a reason why it has a very solid reputation. Just the overall feel and ergonomics of this gimbal are very premium. The handle is very nice, the battery is built in so it's well thought out. The grip, I don't get tired of holding it at all. It's contoured to my hand very nicely. The buttons and everything just feel very premium. This gimbal has served me well and given me no problems. If I had to complain about anything, it would be about the tripod. The tripod comes in two different variants. The Essentials version comes with the plastic tripod, where the higher end kits come with the metal tripod. The only thing that really bothers me about it is that over time when I'm holding it by the tripod, a lot of times it will work its way loose and it just doesn't feel good in the hands. But as a tripod, it serves well and the gimbal is built very well. The Zhiyun Crane 2S, I would say, is also built very premium, and I would say that this gimbal is very well thought out and very well engineered. The placement of everything, the quality, and just build overall of everything is very nice. Even the carbon fiber handle, the grips, the tripod is plastic, but they even thought of putting a gasket on it to keep it from working its way loose. If I had to complain about anything on this gimbal as far as build quality goes, I would say it would be the buttons feel a little bit on the cheap side, but even then they're not enough to stop me from buying this gimbal. I think overall it is built very, very well. The next thing that I would like to cover is the weight of these gimbals, because that does definitely matter when you're carrying these things all day long, especially with the size cameras that these are geared towards. So the Zhiyun Crane 2S, when it's fully configured with the batteries and everything, comes in at 4.63 pounds, where the DJI Ronin S, when it's fully assembled, comes in at 4.1 pounds. So there is a half a pound difference there, and that can make a difference over a long day of shooting. You know, you can get fatigued with that. Myself, I don't really feel a huge difference in it, especially since on my Ronin S I usually have this handle here on it that probably weighs a half a pound as it is, and so I don't really feel a whole huge difference between the two. The next thing that I would like to cover is the payload capacity between the two gimbals. The DJI Ronin S is advertised at being tested up to 7.9 pounds. And I can say that I run it most of the time with my Panasonic S1 fully rigged out, cage and all, and it handles it no problem. The Zhiyun Crane 2S does not advertise what the payload capacity is. I can say that they do show you what cameras that it can handle, like the S1H, the Pocket 6K, the 1DX, things like that. And I've seen people balance very large setups like the Canon C200 fully rigged out with large lenses and things like that, and it handles it no problem. I have not tested it with smaller cameras, so I don't know if it can handle lightweight stuff, but I think both of these are pretty much going to be able to handle just about anything that you throw at them. Anything that you can fit on them, they will be able to handle it just fine. The motors are very strong. If anything, I would say maybe Zhiyun doesn't advertise their payload capacity for the Crane 2S because maybe they don't want it competing with their Crane 3S, because there might be people out there, if they know that this can handle their setup, they'd go for this over the Crane 3S. GPS. That's just my assumption, but who knows. And so either one of these cameras, our gimbals, can handle large cameras. When it comes to balancing, the DJI Ronin S is just about the same as any typical gimbal. There's no real pros or cons to the balancing. It just works. And I would say, if anything, the balancing on this, my only complaint would be sometimes the arms don't slide very smoothly, and so if I'm trying to fine tune the balance and I have to push it a little bit, it might go a little bit too far and then I have to pull it back, and so that can be a little bit irritating. But one good thing about the Ronin S, which is why it has, another reason why it has such a good reputation, is you don't necessarily have to get the balance right. With its auto-tune feature and stuff like that, it will compensate for things, but the motors are also very strong and the algorithms are very good to where if you zoom out with the lens and just change things up without rebalancing, it can compensate for that and it can handle it very well. It might drain your batteries faster, but it will handle it very well. When it comes to the Zhiyun Crane 2S, I would say balancing is where this gimbal really shines. So the fact that it's got these locking arms and locking motors just makes balancing so much more convenient, because you can isolate each individual motor and axis and be able to balance the camera perfectly and just get a very good balance. The auto tune feature works, but I can say with my S1H it was off a little bit and I did have to adjust it some, but being able to just go in there and adjust it was very convenient. So balancing is very, very fast on this and very accurate. And another really cool feature when it comes to balance is their flex mount system. So it has this plate on it that you can remove. Now your camera sits on here with its base plate, and then you can put your tripod base plate on the bottom of this. And so if you need to transfer from gimbal to tripod or back and forth a lot of times, this is a huge time saver, because you can have your camera balanced on there, pull your camera out, go sit it on your tripod, get the shots that you need, and if you need to go back to gimbal, you just simply take your camera off the tripod and slide it right back into the gimbal and you are good to go. That is a huge time saver. So with the locks and with the flex mount system, and then also another big thing is that it's got the vertical mount on it. So that is something that a lot of gimbals like the Ronin S, you would have to buy an L mount bracket. So if you do a lot of vertical shooting, like for TikTok or Instagram, things like that, then the Crane 2S is gonna be able to make you balance your camera a lot easier going into vertical mode with no extra accessories. So I'd say the Crane 2 shines in this. Now, when it comes to controls, the DJI Ronin S has pretty basic controls with the standard kit. If you get the more expensive kits, then you get the focus wheel with it and stuff like that. But again, that does add to the cost. Now the controls feel very premium. The joystick is very smooth and very responsive. It responds to the movements very, very rapidly, and it's made out of metal. It just feels very good. All the buttons are made very solidly and just work very well. I use a lot the double tap to recenter position, and it's very quick to recenter and always nails the horizon perfectly, so I have no issues with that whatsoever. Again, if you want to go into more advanced controls, then you would have to buy their command center that has the screen on it and stuff like that, if you want to be able to on the fly go in and change things and fine tune things if you're switching cameras a lot. Otherwise, you have to pull out the app, which a lot of people do get irritated with. But myself, this serves me well. I can use just the 3 modes that it has that you can preset, because I don't usually find myself using more modes than that, and I can just switch back and forth in between them. So this gimbal has 3 modes, and 4 if you count the sport mode, but it's all pretty basic controls. Now the Zhiyun Crane 2S has much more features and controls to it. So you've got the screen, so if you need to fine tune things and you need to, you're switching cameras often and you need to be able to make adjustments, then you can do it all in here on the fly. Plus, one benefit to this is if you're using a camera that is compatible with the Crane 2S, and I'm sure they're going to be updating that to add more cameras, but like my Panasonic S1 is completely compatible with this camera, I can control aperture, ISO, shutter speed, record, start and stop, all those things, and I can see what I'm doing on the screen, plus I can see what mode I'm in. So if you need to make adjustments on the fly often, then this is probably the better model. It does also come with the focus focus wheel that will control electronic focus, as well as you can set it to control either a zoom or focus motor. And so the controls on this are very good. The only thing that I would say that I found lacking a little bit on this is the responsiveness of the recentering, the double tap feature, which is again is something I use often. So when I double tap to recenter, I find that it just lags. It takes a little bit before it actually goes. Now that may be something that they can update through firmware later on, but as of the moment it takes a little bit, and I'm just not used to that because the responsiveness of this is very good. But overall, everything on this control wise is a benefit. So as far as portability goes, the Ronin S is very portable because you can break it down into multiple pieces. You can take the grip off, you can take the top gimbal off, you can take the tripod off, and so that makes it convenient for packing away if you're traveling, airplanes, things like that. You know, you can fit it into smaller spaces a lot easier. I would say though it is a little bit of an irritant that there are no locks on the motors, that, you know, you're going to constantly have these flopping around. That's something that bugs the heck out of me because I'll have this on my backpack and on the outside of my backpack, and as I'm walking and so you'll see a lot of people complaining about that. They'll put Velcro straps and things like that to hold them. And so it is very portable. You can break it down and fit it in small spaces, but I just wish that they would have put locking motors on there. It would have made things a whole lot better. Now the Crane 2S doesn't break down as well as the DJI Ronin S does, but having those locking motors just makes it to where you can slim this thing down and be able to make it into a very slim profile and take the tripod off and slide it into a bag, or again in my case on the outside of a bag, and you're not going to have the thing flopping around or anything like that. So I would say as far as portability goes, they both have their pluses and minuses. Now when it comes to accessories, which I'm basically just going to cover the OEM accessories or factory accessories because I know there's a whole slew of third-party stuff that would take us all day to cover. But as far as DJI goes, they have a whole bunch of very high-end premium production accessories as far as like being able to transmit images and being able to remotely control focus and zoom and things like that, so you can have a complete remote operator. They have a lot of very premium production equipment for this, but it also has a very premium price and can be very costly and out of the reach of a lot of people because some of it can be quite a bit more than just the gimbal itself, and so that can put it out of reach for a lot of people, but it is there. So if you have the budget for it, it does have very premium stuff that you know is going to give you a very good result. Now the Zhiyun Crane 2S has a lot of the same features and a lot of the same accessories, like their transmount system that will transmit the image to a remote operator, and they can control every aspect of the gimbal and camera and zoom and focus and things like that. But it is much more budget friendly. So it's not going to be as premium as what you're going to get from this, but it is definitely more budget friendly and may put things in reach of more creators if you're going to try to do larger production type stuff. So both have good accessories. It's basically what's your budget. And so the next thing that I want to be able to talk about is the modes that these offer. Again, the DJI Ronin S has 3 basic modes, 4 if you count the sport mode, but they are what most creators use. The Zhiyun Crane 2S has 6 different modes, so you get the same modes that the Ronin S has, even though they're called different things, but you have extra modes as well. So if you need more modes, this has it. Now as far as the app goes, because again with the DJI Ronin, if you need to make fine-tune adjustments without the command center, you need to use the app. I would say the app is where the DJI Ronin S really shines in my opinion, because the app is phenomenal. It is very intuitive, very easy to use. I've never had any glitches or issues. You can do time lapses or panorama photos, things like that. Everything in the app is very configurable and very easy to use, and you're going to get up and running straight away, and you can just set it and forget it. So I love the app. I do a lot of time lapses with this, and it is very convenient. The Zhiyun Crane 2S, I would say, lacks a lot in the app. So the app is not as intuitive. It has, you know, features like time-lapse and panoramas and things like that, but I just find it's not as easy to use as the Crane 2S. So if you If you have, or sorry, not as easy to use as the Ronin S. So if you have any other Zhiyun products and you've used the Play app, then it's the same app that works for the Crane 2S. The next thing that I would like to cover is the battery life between these two. So the battery life is exactly the same, which is 12 hours, but there are some features that I do think are worth considering. So 12 hours for most people is enough to get them through a full day of production. You know, some people might need more, but for myself, 12 hours is more than enough. I've never ran out of batteries on either one of these. Now, what I usually do is I'll have the gimbal on and I won't even turn it off. I'll just put it into pause mode when I'm not using it. And when I pick it back up, I will, you know, unpause it and just go the whole day like that and have no issues. But if you are the type that are on larger productions, you need more batteries, you need backup batteries, you're the type that forgets to recharge your batteries and things like that, and you just need backup batteries, well, the battery is built into the grip on the Ronin S, so it's quite a bit more expensive. The replacement battery for this is $100, where the Crane 2S uses the same standard size batteries that they've used for quite some time, and for a set of batteries on this is $20 to $30. So you can literally buy 2 to 3 sets of batteries for this compared to what this costs. So really, you would just need to determine whether or not you're the type that, you know, you're on charging your batteries all the time and you don't need it for longer periods of time than 12 hours, and you don't need replacement batteries, or you forget to charge your batteries or you need replacement batteries for whatever reason. As far as performance goes between these two gimbals, when it comes to the stability of them and the type of image that you're going to get out of them, because at the end of the day, that's one of the most important things, right? We want to make sure that we're getting a good stable image. I would say both of these are going to handle just fine. Both of them are very capable gimbals, and you're not really going to notice a huge difference between the two as far as stability. The Ronin S has an amazing reputation because it's known for its stable footage. This one is equally as well in my experience, in my testing. I would say either one of these can handle just about any camera that you throw at them. So if you already have the Ronin S and you're thinking about upgrading to this, thinking it might get you a better result, if all you're considering is the image, it's not necessarily going to do that. It's going to be just about the same. Now, if you want all the extra features that this one has to offer, like the locking motors, the flex plate where you can, you know, transfer the gimbal or camera from gimbal to tripod, if you need to be able to control things where you don't have to pull out the app and things like that, it's just going to help your workflow out tremendously, then it might be worth upgrading to this. Now, if you don't have either one of these and you're considering which one of these you should go for, then I would recommend to go with the Crane 2S because it just has much more convenient features compared to the DJI Ronin S. Having these locking motors and all of that are huge time savers. I like all the controls and just the things that it comes with that I don't have to spend extra on this, and it is a very premium feeling gimbal. So I really would recommend this if you had neither one of these. So I hope you found this video helpful. Again, please hit that thumbs up if you did. If you are not subscribed, hit that button, but I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.